Let's talk for a moment. So when you feel nervous or anxious about something, where is the first place that your brain goes? Is it the best thing that can happen, or is it the worst? See, I've asked that question to hundreds of audiences over the past 10 years, and almost every single time, y'all, the vast majority of hands go up for worst case. And that makes sense because we're just wired for survival. Like, it's just what our body does. Your brain's first job is to protect you from danger. It's doing what it's built to do. But here's what most of us do next. We think about the worst thing that could happen, and then we stop there. We just sit in it. We never actually finish that thought. So I want to tell you about something real quick. I want to tell you about something that happened to me about a month ago, because it showed me exactly why finishing that thought matters. So I was booked to speak at a conference in Grand Rapids, Michigan, to some transportational professionals in the education industry, and it was a Saturday event. Now, normally I always fly into an event the night before, like always. But after more than 10 years of speaking, 45 to 50 times a year, I've only missed one engagement, and that was because of weather. So showing up is something that I take really, really seriously, but this time, this event was later in the day on Saturday, and I wanted to spend as much time at home with my family as possible, so I decided to fly in the day of, like that Saturday morning. So the moment that I made that decision, I felt it. You know, that knot in your stomach, and the worst case scenarios just started flowing through my head. What if something goes wrong? What if I don't make it? And to make it even worse, I had a layover, which you know how layovers are, which didn't help at all. So we get to the morning of the flight. I'm at the airport. I fly to Detroit. I'm in Detroit. I'm sitting at the gate getting some work done, and I call my sister. So we're catching up, and she starts telling me the story. She goes, a few weeks ago, she realized that she was at the wrong gate when she was traveling 10 minutes before her flight actually boarded. So I'm talking to her, I'm laughing, I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna be me today. I'm already sitting at my gate, like I'm good, I'm confident, talking smack. So we hang up. I look down at my phone, and I realize that I'm at the wrong gate. Not only that, but my flight took off like an hour and a half ago, and my heart dropped. The sinking feeling hits. You know, the one where we all do it sometimes, where it's like that voice in your head going, you idiot, that's exactly what you didn't want to happen, and it actually happened. Like, how are you so dumb? But here's the part that surprised me. I was calmer than I expected to be, not because I didn't care, not because I wasn't in a situation that wasn't good, not because it wasn't a big deal, but because somewhere in the back of my mind, I already knew what I was going to do, and here's why. See, back when we first booked that trip, when I first felt that knot in my stomach about flying in the day of, I didn't just sit in that anxiety or that feeling about all the bad things that could happen. I asked myself, if something were to happen with my layover, what would I do? And when I did that, I pulled up Google Maps and I checked that from Detroit, or from my layover city, to Grand Rapids, Michigan, it was about a 2.5 hour drive to Grand Rapids. And I knew that I could rent a car if I needed to. So when that bad thing actually happened in that airport, I wasn't just starting from zero. I already had a plan. I booked a rental car and started driving. And guess what? I actually made it to my event on time, and not only on time, but I was able, the keynote went well, everything went well. Now here's what I want you to take from this. Everything that I talked about, it's not just about having a backup plan. It's something a lot deeper. Most of the time when we're anxious, we don't just think about the worst case scenario, but we catastrophize. Meaning we think about catastrophes. We jump straight into the most extreme version of what could possibly go wrong, even though that version almost never actually happens. So for my trip, for example, the real worst case scenario would have been every single flight in that city getting canceled, or we can even think about worse things that could happen, or maybe me being completely stuck. Is all of those things possible? Maybe, sure, but is it likely? Not at all. So here's a question that changed things for me that I want you to think about. Instead of asking what's the worst thing that could happen, which sends your brain into the spiral, ask this: what is the most realistic thing that could happen? And what would I do if it did? It gives your mind the time to prepare. And that's the question that I asked myself before I ever left the house. And that is the reason why I was so calm at the airport, y'all, because when everything went sideways, I had already answered that question. And here's what I found. I found that most of the time when you actually answer that question, you realize something. You realize that you'll be okay. You realize that you'll figure it out. You realize that you have options. And the thing that felt so scary in your head, that it's actually survivable. And knowing that lets you move forward instead of staying stuck. So if there's something you've been anxious about, it could be a conversation, a decision, something that you might want to do, a risk that you keep going back and forth on, try it. Pause, ask the question, and actually answer it, right? Actually answer it. So I'm curious for you, what is something that you've been sitting on because that worst case just feels too scary? Drop it in the comments. And if you're really, really bold, really into the whole thing of fearing a little less, what is the most realistic bad thing that could happen, and what would you do? Like, actually plan out what would you do if that thing were to happen. And if you're looking to join a community, people looking to fear a little less, please subscribe. And as always, y'all, I will meet you at the top because the bottom is getting way too crowded. Peace out, y'all. Peace.